During the whole of a dull, dark, and soundless day in the autumn of the year, when the clouds hung oppressively low in the heavens, I had been passing alone on horseback through a singularly dreary tract of country, and at length found myself, as the shades of the evening drew on, within view of the melancholy house of Usher. What is Gothic? Is it a genre or something that genres can share? And can bookstores and us as readers really shelve narratives as being Gothic? Well, my argument throughout the course of this video and as a genre breakdown is to argue that perhaps not. So first, let's start by defining what the literary definition of Gothic is. With a definition, it is defined as a style of fiction characterized by mystery, horror, and the supernatural, typically set in gloomy, decaying surroundings. That's what the dictionary says. But that is a bit too simple for what I think most of us now understand as the Gothic genre. Once upon a midnight dreary while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore. While I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. "Only this, and nothing more." So, what are we seeing here, though? This doesn't seem like a very hard form of categorization, and I don't think there is one. So, what are we looking at here within Gothic literature? So what people often think of as Gothic is this. They think castles, fog, vampires. That can all be valid, but that can be valid for so many other stories as well. Just because it has a vampire in it, does that make it Gothic? I think not. It could also be the time period, which we see in Dracula and Frankenstein, sharing that era, which is very interesting to us and often signals the coming of the industrial era into fantasy and its use in elements such as steampunk or wizard punk. But another element could be simply the spooky aesthetic that we see in Gothic literature. But many stories, including horror specifically, can share this spooky thing without being Gothic, or can they? So let's ask the question again, what actually is Gothic? As the dictionary definition defines it, it is a style of fiction which is characterized by mystery, horror, the supernatural, typically set in gloomy, decaying surroundings. So then, if video games can be Gothic, is Dark Souls a Gothic narrative? Perhaps. But what do we typically define Dark Souls as being? We define it as being an epic fantasy video game, correct? Yes, it is. But I would say it's also Gothic. So what is Gothic actually? Because Rebecca is a Gothic story, but it shares many of the same elements and is typically preceded elementally by something like Knives Out, which shares all of this criteria. Does that make Knives Out Gothic? Per se, yes, but only if Gothic is not a genre. So let's close with this. As we've discussed previously, genre is actually just a marketing tool. It's something that we as readers and as writers need in order to understand who we are writing for and what we are reading, what we are getting ourselves into and exploring and having fun with. It is the core element. So if I'm writing a story with dragons, it's most likely going to be a fantasy. But if I'm writing it during the Napoleonic era, such as something like the Temeraire series by Naomi Novik, which is a great Dragon Rider epic fantasy, see what I said there, that's the genre, it is set in a historical era and has a lot of Gothic elements. So literary terms often fail because literature, that term is kind of presumptuous, and so it doesn't carry through into genre, which is simply marketing. But Gothic is not a genre then, because we cannot really shelve something based on its vibes. We have to base it upon its actual core vibe. So we are shelving it based upon its vibes, but it's the largest of the vibes that we are shelving it upon. Thus, Gothic is a mode, or rather a disease, that can be caught by different narratives and can be preceded by different genres as we see them, such as romance, fantasy, supernatural horror, supernatural romance, epic fantasy, sci-fi, space opera. All of these are great, and they can all be Gothic, as we've discussed just now. So, Gothic is not a genre. As we have said, it is rather something else, something haunting behind the pages, something lurking, ready to perhaps have a better definition in the future.